So Thanksgiving is right around the corner. I'm Dzung Lewis, and today we're gonna cook 5 recipes that are perfect side dishes for our Thanksgiving feast, all in the microwave. This is every side dish. So first up, we have stuffing. Also, we're gonna be using store-bought stuffing because it's delicious and it's one of my favorites. We're gonna start by browning some butter to add to our stuffing, and trust me when I say brown butter is a game changer. So for this recipe, we'll need 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter diced, a 1/3 cup of diced celery, a 1/3 cup of diced carrots, a 1/3 cup of onions, easy peasy, and we'll need 12 ounces of packaged store-bought stuffing mix like Pepperidge Farms, 2 cups of chicken broth or vegetable stock, and finally 1 sprig of chopped fresh rosemary. So we're gonna first place the butter into our large shallow any day dish, and make sure you don't fully cover your any day dish and just leave the lid slightly ajar so that the moisture from the butter could evaporate. I'm cooking on a 1200 watt microwave. Make sure to go to cookanyday.com to see the adjusted rate if your wattage is different. So we're gonna cook this in the microwave for about 4 to 5 minutes until the butter smells fragrant, it's nutty, and golden brown. Oh, it smells so good. So one thing I love about the any day dishes is that not only can you cook in them, but they're beautiful enough to serve and present, saving you time and cleanup during the holidays. So now I'm gonna add in my vegetables. We're gonna start with the celery and add it into the brown butter, our carrots, and onion. Go ahead and mix it around a little bit to cover in the butter. And now we're gonna cook our vegetables for 2 to 3 minutes until our veggies are soft and fragrant. Now I'm gonna add our chicken stock or vegetable stock, our chopped rosemary, and then we're gonna heat it up in the microwave again for 2 to 3 minutes until the stock is nice and hot. And the final step is to add our stuffing. Make sure each piece is completely soaked through with our delicious broth, and then it'll magically come together. So my favorite part about stuffing is that you can customize it however you'd like. If you wanted to add some diced apples, some cranberries, pecans, pine nuts, whatever you want. And here we have our delicious stuffing all made in the microwave in about 10 minutes. And next up, we are gonna be making mashed potatoes. If you haven't made mashed potatoes in the microwave, you're missing out because it takes a fraction of the time and you don't have to bring up a whole large pot up to boil. So I have 5 medium Yukon Gold potatoes already washed, peeled, and cut into large pieces, and they're all placed inside the Anyday large deep dish. 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 2 to 2 1/4 cup of half and half or milk, and then of course salt and pepper to taste. So to make this, I'm gonna start by giving the potatoes a quick rinse and drain, leaving any excess water inside the dish because that'll actually help us steam the potatoes in the microwave. Make sure to keep your Anyday knob lifted so that some steam can escape. And then we're just gonna microwave this for about 11 to 12 minutes or until the potatoes are tender when pierced with a fork. All right, oh, it looks nice and hot. Let's test it with our fork to make sure it's tender. Perfect. Now we'll just add the remaining ingredients. We have our butter, our milk, and we're just gonna microwave it again for about 2 to 3 minutes until the butter's melted and the milk is warmed through. So this recipe so far is pretty easy, right? I would say if you wanted to give it a test run before Thanksgiving, this would be so good for a weeknight meal. Now all I have to do is season it with some salt and pepper, and just start mashing. And once it gets to a creamy enough consistency, go in with the whisk and finish whipping it up. So this is looking really good. This is a consistency that I look for just because mashed potatoes tend to firm up as it cools and you don't want it to be too thick, so this is what I look for. And also if you want this to be a little healthier, you can always add a handful of kale or spinach in there. While it's hot, whip it up and you have a delicious mashed potato. All right, next up we have some miso tahini sweet potatoes. While it's not a classic flavor that you're used to for Thanksgiving, it may just steal the show from your turkey. So what I love about this dish is that it uses a whole sweet potato so that you can really portion out exactly how many you need for each meal to minimize food waste or having too much leftovers. So for this recipe, I have 2 medium sweet potatoes with skin on, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temperature, 2 teaspoons of miso paste, 1 tablespoon of tahini, which is basically sesame paste, and you can find this at any well-stocked grocery store, and finally 2 teaspoons of sesame seeds for garnish. So to prep our sweet potatoes, I'm gonna grab my fork, and we're just gonna prick the sweet potatoes all over so that it steams and cooks quickly in the microwave. One thing to note is that if your sweet potatoes are too big, you can always cut it in half lengthwise to fit in your any day shallow dish here, but we're not gonna do that today. Since these fit perfectly, we're gonna cover it up with the lid, make sure the knob is up so that any steam escapes from the dish, and then we're just gonna put it in the microwave for about 7 to 8 minutes until our sweet potatoes are tender when pierced with a fork. So while our sweet potatoes are cooking in the microwave, I'm gonna show you how to make the sauce. I have my unsalted butter, and we'll just add it to another bowl. Add our tahini paste, our miso, and with a fork or a spoon, just go ahead and mash it down, and you get a beautiful whipped butter that looks like this. Now we'll just put our butter aside and wait for the potatoes to finish. All right, our sweet potatoes are ready. The bowl's gonna be hot, so make sure you handle it with care. Okay, I'm just gonna remove the sweet potatoes onto the cutting board so you guys can see how beautiful this is. And to prep our potatoes, I'm just gonna get a knife, cut it down the middle, just a slit, because we're gonna stuff it, and then just pinch it a little bit so that you fluff it up slightly. And then grab the miso tahini butter, and you can add as much or as little as you'd like. And the butter is just gonna melt into the sweet potato, giving it this salty, umami flavor that's delicious in every bite. To garnish, just grab some sesame seeds, sprinkle it all over. And that's all there is to our miso tahini sweet potatoes. Next up, we're making broccoli and cheese casserole because we're gonna add some cheese into our holiday meal. And we're gonna make most of it in the microwave, but also finish it in the oven so you get that beautiful cheesy bubbles at the end. So for the ingredients, we're gonna need 2 cups of heavy cream, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. You also need some freshly ground black pepper, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. We need 4 cups of fresh or frozen chopped broccoli, which I will chop that later, 2 cups of cooked white or brown rice, and then 1 cup of Monterey Jack cheese. And then for our garnish, we'll also need some crispy onions. I'm starting with the any day large shallow dish, and to that we're gonna add some heavy cream, our cornstarch, some cayenne pepper, then we have some salt, black pepper. Just make sure that the cornstarch is fully mixed in, otherwise you're gonna get some clumps, and we definitely don't want that. And I'm gonna pop this into the microwave and cook it for 3 to 4 minutes until the cream has thickened. Now while that's cooking, I'm gonna prep our broccoli. So I'm just using the florets today, but the stalks are also edible, so I like to save that for a stir fry or a salad on a different day. And make sure that they're cut about the same size so that they cook evenly. Okay, our cream is done. So once I remove the lid, ooh, looks good. I'm just gonna take my whisk and give it another quick mix so that the sauce is evenly distributed. It looks so good. And now we're gonna add in our chopped broccoli and rice. And then with the spatula, just give it a nice mix so that it's completely covered in our beautiful sauce. Okay, look at that. It's already very gorgeous. But now I'm gonna cook the broccoli and rice again in the microwave for another 7 to 8 minutes until the broccoli is tender. And look at that. It's already so beautiful and smells so good. But the final step is to add our Monterey Jack cheese on top. You just wanna use any melty cheese. So now you have two options. If you wanted the cheese to be nice and melty, just pop it into the microwave for 1 minute. But since I like it nice and toasted, I'm gonna place it into my oven preheated to 500 degrees until the cheese is browned and bubbly with the lid off. Okay, our broccoli cheese casserole is just about done. Last step, I just need to add some crispy onion for that added flavor. And this is good enough to serve. So I can't have Thanksgiving without cranberry sauce. And if you aren't gonna go with the jellied route, I think this is a perfect way to make some homemade cranberry sauce with a little pop of orange zest. And my favorite thing about this recipe is that it's literally 3 steps with 0 hands-on time. You just place all the ingredients into the any-day medium deep dish, cook and mash up the cranberries for a beautiful sauce. So let's see what we have here. We've got 3 cups of frozen cranberries. You can also use fresh if you can find it. 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of fresh orange zest, and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Like I said, I'm gonna place everything into our any-day dish. Cranberries tend to be quite tart, so we do need that little bit of sugar to balance it out. We have our salt. The cornstarch will help to thicken up the sauce. The orange zest is my favorite. It just adds a pop of freshness. And finally, our butter. And then we're gonna cook it in the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes just until it starts to get soft. You'll notice the cranberries kind of popping a little bit, and that'll create really nice chunks in our sauce. We're gonna continue cooking it in the microwave for about 2 minutes, and everything's gonna just come together. So just let it hang out for about half an hour. The residual heat from the dish will help thicken the sauce. And once it comes together, we get this beautiful, thick, glossy sauce. Now let's say you're not a cranberry purist. You can take out 1/4 of the cranberries and substitute it for some peeled and diced apple for an apple cranberry sauce that's just as good. Or if you wanted to give it more herbal depth, feel free to add in some chopped sage to give it that beautiful warmth. And there you have it, 5 easy and delicious side dishes for your Thanksgiving table, all made in the microwave. You save so much time not waiting around for the stove or the oven for your food. Check out cookanyday.com to get the exact cooking time for your microwave. And while you're there, poke around and get some more recipes and inspiration for your Thanksgiving meal.